We are back again. It is the Mom Game, episode 12. We've reached a dozen. Who would have thought, Julie? They're still letting us do this.
It's a big milestone.
There are tens of people listening. I know that for a fact. No, we've actually got a lot of people listening, which is exciting.
Yeah,
so if you are listening to this right now, that means you are in fact listening to the Mom Game, and we appreciate it. I'm Emily Jones. She is Julie Dobbs, and
yes. How are we doing today?
It's
We're fine.
yeah. I mean, I'm still alive. As far as I know, my children are alive. I've locked the door so they can't get in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just now we're transitioning to, slowly getting back into things. So there was like the weird school supply pickup today where it's like I had to pick up all my kids' crap from school that they left in their desk and all that.
Right.
Yeah, but we found out camps are opening, Little League sports, youth sports can resume.
Yep.
My kids are going to camp June 2nd. I don't know how a lot of parents might feel about that,
I know
but
a lot
we
of parents
decided
doing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
they've been home for long enough.
Yeah. So we're gonna dip our toe in the camp pool on June 2nd. So yeah, it's just we're kind of still steady as she goes. Me still in limbo, trying to figure out baseball season, how that's going to operate. I know you're in the same boat with your husband, Kelly, who works for the Dallas Stars. He's, I'm sure, still in limbo.
He is. And that's what's hard for all of us because it's hard, obviously, for the athletes and for the teams and the fans. But then the people who's going back to work, just regular jobs like you and Kelly, who are also parents trying to figure out the camps, and it all like interconnects where you're like, do I need a camp for this? Do I need a camp for the end of July, or is my husband going to be sitting around on the couch? And that's probably kind of something that you're dealing with too. So it's just mass chaos. But at the same time, I'm glad things are starting to open back up a little bit, and the kids need it. Like the kids need their sports, even if professional sports need some more time to figure it out. I really want my kid out there playing a soccer game. Like that would make everybody happy. And it's weird transitioning from the non-school year into summer because it already felt like summer, but now I guess kids don't have the obligatory school curriculum that they're supposed to be doing every day. So that hopefully can free up parents a little bit more as well. But I don't know. It's just weird. Masks are everywhere too. I'm having mask issues again. It's just one more thing to worry about. I even had a doctor's appointment today and I pulled up and I forgot they had called and they were like, you've got to wear a mask. And I totally forgot until I pulled up. I'm searching through the car, of course, running late for the doctor's appointment anyways, but I'm what can I wear for a mask? And found an old scarf that got the job done, but it doesn't stay on. And you feel like there's all this mask judgment or non-mask judgment. It's a whole new way to judge people.
There is absolutely mask, non-mask judgment. I went out to a restaurant for the first time this weekend. We actually went twice. We went as a family to Joe T. Garcia's, which is a Mexican food restaurant in Fort Worth outside. It was fantastic. I missed waiters and waitresses so much. I didn't know how much I missed them. I love them. Yes.
Did they bring you a waiter or margarita and was it
It was amazing. And then I had a girls' lunch. A girls' lunch in Fort Worth, same situation outside. And we all got not dressed up, but I wore wedges. My kids were like, why are you wearing those shoes? And I was like, because I'm going out to lunch. Thank you very much. So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. But it's still mass chaos.
It feels really weird to have to get dressed all of a sudden, even for anything. And I'm still not quite there. I'm half there. So even today I had to go out and run a couple errands, including the doctor where you see people, not just driving through drive-through or whatever restaurants. So I did a nice shirt. And then I was I still can't put on jeans and I'm not prepared for short weather yet. I don't have cute shorts yet. So I'm wearing leggings, workout pants with my nice shirt.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to ease back into dressing up. I'm not quite ready.
Business up top, party down low.
Yes. So many days where you've just you haven't had to get dressed. You just wear sweatpants.
Well, I've worn makeup 2 times since this all started. And it was when I was taping all those shows for Fox Sports Southwest.
Yeah, you look great.
And as soon as I got done, the first thing I did was take it off and put my hair in this ridiculous bun. And even this morning, I thought, you know what? I'm going to blow dry my hair today. Like, I owe it to myself to like put some effort into this.
Right.
And I couldn't. By, you know, it was like 4:00, and I was like, there's zero chance. First of all, it was all flat and gross and like stuck to my head because it's hot outside and I've been running around. And I'm like, oh, the hair Karens will come out if I go on with this flat ass hair.
You gotta love the hair Karens. No, I know.
The hair Karens.
I saw like some people even throughout it doing like date night, you know, where you get all dressed up with your husband and hair together. And I'm like, that sounds lovely, but I don't care enough. Like,
it's a lot of effort. Yeah. And that's fine. If you want to spice it up like that, kick ass, get after it. But that did not happen in our house. We did dress up for Easter, but we let our kids pick out the clothes so they could pick whatever they wanted.
Right.
My kids picked my wedding dress, which I am not able
for you to wear.
For me to wear, because it's a long story. I'll have to tell the story about my wedding dress sometime. But I ended up cutting it off after the ceremony. I cut it off because we were in Mexico getting married and it was humid as hell and I was miserably hot. I was like, get this thing off me. So we cut it. We cut it off, and so it's like a cocktail dress with a very bad hemline, and but I couldn't fit it in this area up right here, and so it wouldn't exactly zip. I mean, it was 10 years ago,
right?
But it did kind of I was like, oh, but I rationalized it. I was like, well, I've had things done up here.
Well, if it doesn't fit up there, that's fine. You're doing well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, whatever.
That's okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. You want to hear a weird thing that I did on my wedding night when you're talking about ripping off your dress? And we've already talked about it. We've already talked.
Rip it off. I just cut it.
You said you ripped it off. You said you ripped it off.
In episode 1 you weren't going there, Julie.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm going somewhere totally different. And Kelly and I still laugh about it because I didn't like rip anything off but my wig.
Oh, that's right.
I got married in a wig because of had just gone through chemo and all of that, and I wore this like fancy wig the whole time, like trying so hard to make it through, like for all the pictures and everything to look normal. But I was so hot and sweaty. Our wedding was in June in Austin, and by the end of the night, and I was, had like 20 drinks or something, and then that wig just was like, I'm taking off my wig, and ripped it all off, and he had to like help me.
Did you do it like seductively or?
No. I just wish I had a video of that, like 20 drinks in, ripped off my wig on wedding night. Like many.
That's amazing. Did you take a picture at least?
With what? Without it or?
Like, well, I mean, like after ripping the wig off, like
no. Okay. But then I was faced with the issue because it was like a really nice wig that had been like fitted for me and for my head, and it doesn't just go on and off very easily. So the next morning I had to go to my wedding brunch with my really short hair. I like screwed myself for the next morning. I couldn't put it back on. But then of course everyone was like, oh my God, it looks amazing. I was like, it does not,
but you're sweet. Everybody loves you on your wedding day.
So I bet you didn't think I was gonna say I ripped off my hair.
I did not think that. You got me. It's very hard for me to be got, and you definitely got me.
Good. I'm just full of surprises. You will learn.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of surprises, I have one. One of the biggest characters I have met in my 20 years of doing television. And he's going to join us right after you tell us about, of course, our title sponsor.
Yes, our title sponsor, Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry. We are so thankful for them, everything that they've done for us. Emily went in and had a really great visit with them. I'm currently in the process of scheduling my visit with them. They're also going to look at Ryder's chip tooth that we talked about in one of the previous episodes. They're going to probably do some Zoom whitening on Kelly. So we're just working with their schedules right now. But they are our really good friends. They're sponsoring this whole podcast, The Mom Game. So thank you so much to them. They're opening up their doors once again, just like we've been talking about. Everything is getting back to normal. So is their dentist office. They're taking all of the precautions to make sure that everybody is safe. They're safe, you're safe, all of that. So if you want to get in and make an appointment to get your teeth cleaned, to talk to them about Zoom whitening or anything cosmetic that you may need, there's always something, right? Just give them a call, 972-380-6223. Again, it is Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry. or you can email them at info@cowdencosmeticdentistry.com. Anna Cowden is the main dentist there, and she has 2 little kids, and I know their family also. So we're super excited to be partnering with them. So give them a call if you haven't yet.
Okay, so as I alluded to earlier in the show, joined by one of the most interesting people I have ever met in my 20 years of doing this, if not the most. He is Mike Leach, who is the head football coach at Mississippi State now, joining us from a serene location somewhere. Where are you, Mike?
I'm in Florida. I'm waiting for campus to open up, and you know, I guess all of us are anxious to get started at the appropriate time. And you know, so you know, doing the you know what we're advised typically, although that changes every day. And I'm riding my bike, getting some fresh air.
What is quarantine Mike Leach like? Give us a glimpse inside a day in the life of quarantine Mike.
Well, it's like Groundhog Day. So you get, you know, it's been there's been several benefits. One thing is you reconnect, I think, with your family and friends, and so I think that part's good. So it's a good reset from that standpoint. Although, you know, economically, obviously it's not. And then there's a lot of people that are in a tough way, not just from the pandemic, but also, the other struggles that exist. But in my case, it's been a good reset to talk to my family regular. So I get up, I'm able to manage my meals. I can't say that I'm doing a super job of exercising, but I do something every day, which is more than usual. And I'm able to manage my food. So I'm eating pretty good and healthy and not as many portions. I read some stuff, and then I run into some pretty good documentaries on I tend to call it all Netflix, but Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, that type of thing. Yeah. Right now I'm watching and stayed up late last night watching the Ken Burns documentary on the Civil War. And you start on that and it's getting late, but you're getting interested even more, and then you say, well, I'll do the first 5 minutes of the next one, and then pretty soon you're through the next one, and pretty soon you're through the next one. And so I saw that. Another one that I found really interesting was there's one called Operation Odessa, and that's it's basically a combination of Russian mobsters, international criminals. And when the Iron Curtain fell, there was all this military hardware over there in Russia, and it was a free-for-all, and they would sell it to various different entities. And these guys decided that they were going to see if Pablo Escobar was interested in buying a submarine. And then they proceeded to secure a submarine for Pablo Escobar to smuggle drugs.
Wow.
Oh.
There's a lot going on there. Yeah.
So even though it's a documentary, people sitting there talking with photographs, it's still pretty captivating.
So I could go so many places after hearing about your quarantine life. And I want to revisit some of the history stuff because I know you're a big history buff. I also really want to talk to you about pirates. I know you probably get asked a lot about pirates, but we are going to revisit that too. But first off, since this is the Mom Game and it's a parenting kind of podcast, for those that don't know, can you set the scene with us about how many kids you have, and were any of those kids quarantining with you? I know some older kids have gone to be with their family during all of this too, and they've been enjoying that extra time with their parents as well. What's your scene like with the family and the kids these days?
Well, it's it's mainly phone calls. It's all been phone calls. So my daughter Janine and her husband, they're doctors up there in Atlanta, and so they worked a portion of it. Although, despite the fact there's a pandemic, most of the beds were empty there in Atlanta, and so they actually got their hours cut.
Wow!
And so, they're there with their kids, my grandkids, and then. And so anyway, so you get some videos of their hijinks and stuff like that. And, they're kind of high impact kids. And so, they're always wearing something, making something, crashing something, eating something, smearing something. And so that's pretty good. And then Kim is in Oklahoma City, and her husband works at the OU Medical Center. And, so he's still working, and then Kim's off, but she just had a baby. So it was, she was on maternity leave anyway. And then my son and other daughter, they finished off school. Cody's about to get married. And,
oh my gosh, that makes me feel so old, Mike.
I know, it's wild, isn't it? And then he stayed at BYU, and then and it's funny how this stuff affects people. So Cody didn't like the not going to class and interaction and all that. Seemed like he drew more from the one-on-one or the live experience. Where my daughter Kirsten, same deal. She loved the computer arrangement. I mean, she'd do whatever, whenever, and she loved being on the computer. She actually hopes that part doesn't change. And then, so we're all scattered around, and we thought about meeting up, but everybody's schedules didn't really align. And then plus you're not supposed to travel anyway. And then in the midst of that, I have a number of meetings and calls every day, whether it's with players, whether it's with the staff, and really you're keeping everything afloat with phone, internet talks, all that sort of thing. And so that's more involved than you think. You might talk to the athletic department, the SEC, your players. We're still, having meetings, and the recruiting effort continues. And so, yeah, and it seems like everybody's done a pretty good job just working their way through it,
Yeah, and I want to mention too, you're married to one of the most patient women on the planet, your wife Sharon. How have you guys finagled this time where you're kind of empty nesters? What's that been like for you two? Does she still want you to hang around?
Yeah, generally. I mean, she gets impatient and has her moments, and because I'm quite easy to manage, and so so there's definitely no problem there. But no, she'll get impatient, let it rip. But no, it's been good. We've cooked at home more than we usually do. I mean, because in coaching, a lot of times you'll eat at the facility depending on the time of the year, or you'll rush out and grab something to eat. And now I'll tell you, that's the other thing is cooking at home. We're not the most elaborate cook, so it's kind of like, oh, okay, you're hungry. All right, let's have this. Okay. And then you can plan it. And so the one thing I can be somewhat proud of on a personal level is taking care of business as far as eating fairly healthy, not perfect, but fairly healthy.
Well, that's impressive because there's a lot of time right now and a lot of scavenging around kitchens and houses looking for snacks. So that's impressive. You mentioned obviously the move and the phone calls and being busy with all of that. We have to talk a little bit about football. How has it been just kind of adjusting to a new city and prepping for a new job as head coach in the middle of the global pandemic? That's not anything that anybody can plan for.
Well, I think that's probably the single hardest thing. I mean, because we have a great team with a lot of eager players and coaches. And so now our opportunity to interact and do things is limited, which, I don't think anybody's real happy about that, but, it is what it is. And so then, but we try to make the most of it. And then, and there's a point to where, we've got to get things installed and that work to get everybody on the same page. And if nothing else, just become familiar with your team and who can do what and, how to best coach and support them,
Yeah.
Mike, obviously our connection started in Lubbock. Your first head coaching job. Was it your first head coaching job or just first D1 head coaching job?
Well, it's my first head coaching job other than Finland, but,
okay.
And I created the monster we know as Emily Jones, the reporter.
Are you taking credit for that?
Who studiously studied, probably got straight A's in broadcasting from Texas Tech. And then, of course, we worked with those guys at Fox Southwest, and they've thanked me ever since,
You did have a big hand in it. I'm very grateful.
Because you went there and you tore it up. I mean, they're like, oh, I don't know. Well, then, of course, you were better than all them they were. So that's all that,
Well, that's very kind of you to say, Mike. But I will say, all of those, those classes that I took, I don't think any of them prepared me for what I was dealing with you. We're so used to, so much of the time coaches and athletes are used to giving like a very down the line response, nothing to rock the boat, just stay safe, don't say too much, whatever. That was never your way of doing things, and I appreciate that about you. First of all, it was entertaining as hell, and second of all, I appreciated the fact that you didn't just give canned answers. But that didn't always go over well, and I don't think sometimes it still goes over well. But it's been important to you, hasn't it, to continue that as we listen to the motorcycle drive by on your bike ride?
Yeah, some of these motorcycles, they want to be heard, So it's a good deal. I mean, just tell the truth the best you can, and then there's less to keep track of. You don't want to constantly revisit, remember, and I got in this business to coach, not to be guarded, and so I've that you try to do that. So I mean, otherwise, I mean, you can have robots do all this. It's going to be like that. So.
And also too, Mike, when you look back now, how many ever years later, what has it been now? 10, 20, 15, 20 years since that time. And you look at, we always talked about the Halamami coaching tree. You look at your coaching tree and it's got some branches out there. That's got to be something you're proud of. How many of those guys do you keep in touch with? The Lincoln Rileys, Dennis Simmons, Bill Biedenbaugh, Seth Luttrell, Sonny Dykes, Sonny Cumbie, Graham Hare. I mean, all these guys are out there. Do you keep in touch with all of them when you see their success? Does it make you proud? What's it like when you go up against them?
Well, if we're in the same place at the same time, we pretty much all keep track of each other, and then phone and text, some of that, and you can rely on all of them if you need an extra set of eyes on something. But no, just good quality people. And I've always been lucky that I got to work with good quality coaches. And the thing, you'd know this better than I do, but some bizarre number of that first staff, like maybe all of the full-time guys, are now head coaches or coordinators. So
yeah,
I'm really proud of them. The thing is football moves kind of fast, and there's not these milestones where you lay back and reflect like you'd like to, and maybe you'll be able to someday, but it moves forward and you're on to the next game and the next thing. And maybe in a meeting, so-and-so got hired at such and such. Oh, wow, he'll do a good job. All right, wow, okay, well, that's good. And you might check, see what they're running. But you might even call them about an opponent. But, for the most part, it's really quite, you just roll into your trying to play or beat whoever you got next,
Yeah. You talk about how quickly things move in football, and you've obviously hopped around some, not a crazy amount, but we talk a lot on this podcast just about managing life, whether that's career and kids and maybe getting a promotion and having to move your family, all of that. And Emily and I both work in sports and have kids and are kind of trying to figure that out. So my question for you is, given all of your experience with all of this, with managing a family, raising kids, being so busy at work, and then making a big move with your family, what kind of advice would you maybe give somebody that's starting out, whether it's in the sports world or just with a new career in general and trying to figure out that family work-life balance?
Well, growing up, we moved a lot as it was. And we always moved a lot when I was a kid growing up. My dad was a forester, so federal government job, and it was always from one mountaintop to the next. And so some of the most beautiful country America has to offer, but also, you'd get winter. I mean, and you'd get real winter. And then, so that was good too. And I think, so there was a point to where I just sort of assumed that's how it was. And then, but by the same token, as a kid, that was kind of tough and challenging. As an adult, it's awesome because, you know people from all over the place. You've been all over the place. What's this like? Oh, I used to live there. And so, that's kind of fulfilling as you get older and all the rough edges get tucked in. But I think you learn to adjust quickly, and football is about adjustment, and so is moving, and because it's constant change. And most problems are solved by adjusting to them rather than panicking with regard to them. Mm-hmm. We got a leaf blower here. They're even more determined to be loud than motorcycles are. Now you just want to adjust and just wait it out. And so I think you learn not to panic. I think you learn try to learn as many nuances about as many people as possible. I think it's definitely helped with regard to nobody's background's the same, but it's what counts is what you do together. So, and but yeah, a lot of different places. And then and to be honest with you, I've actually moved less frequently in coaching than I did as a kid growing up. So
it's nothing.
So just so everyone knows, if they heard the leaf blower, you are on a bike ride, which is it's very Mike Leach of you to be on a bike ride while you're on the podcast. So I love it. And
you're supposed to get fresh air. You're supposed to exercise. Build antibodies, I guess, is what they say, and help the immune system. So hopefully I'm doing my part on that.
You are. And you're not in the drive-through line at Wendy's or whatever, putting in a burger order while you're on a conference call, which was one of your more infamous, I guess, occurrences.
Oh, I did that one time. That one guy got really mad. I forget his name. I can't remember his name, yeah, one reporter, I think he's out of Fort Worth or somewhere. Well, his journalistic integrity was such that, this was supposed to be a formal and solemn moment if he were to happen to ask a question. And if it has to be interrupted by a burger order, he wasn't particularly happy, and he was a little fuss budget anyway. So, hopefully,
fun.
hopefully he's found a profession where he's got a lot of little insignificant details to fuss about, which will keep him happy and occupied, you know?
I do know. Okay, so here we talked a little bit earlier about you being outspoken. It's one of the things that I appreciate you about you the most. You don't pull many punches, if any. Now that we have social media, now there, you know, some of the stuff you put out there is hilarious. Some of the stuff pushes the envelope a little bit. Have you found that navigating that is more difficult than just the traditional media?
You know, I don't know, because you know, some people, it just varies, really. You know, I mean, because you know, if you coach football, or you're in a competitive situation, sports or whatever, you know, you're going to have some enemies out there. Some are manufactured enemies. You know, some are just people that, since they get a hide in the darkness of the web, you know, as a cottage industry, they're just going to be a detractor kind of guy. You know, some people vent their frustrations on the net, and so there's some of that. I think for the most part, the best approach is to ignore, you know, most of it, and just you know, I mean, nobody's perfect. You just try to, you know, if you're and you know, last season we got rid of social media, and it was very peaceful, and I thought it was good, and I thought it. When we did it the last 2 years. I thought it helped our team, you know, as we got into shortly after camp, and I thought that was good. I'll probably do it again, and then me included, and then and so it's peaceful not being on it. It's entertaining being on it. You know, you try to figure out, okay, I mean, fans like to hear from you, but then, you know, other times they'll abuse the privilege. Like the favorite thing on the internet right now is pretending that something's outrageous, or somebody's offended or something like that, and having a contest to see who can react to it the most aggressively. Well, which, I mean, if you enjoy it, that's fun, okay, and then go ahead. But you know, and this started quite a ways back. I've always tried to make sure that I wasn't offended by anything. You know, I mean, you can find offense in about anything if you use your imagination, but I've always tried to not be offended by anything, because a couple of reasons. One, I think it's a distraction. I think it's a complete distraction, and it's a distraction to you primarily. To, you know, if you decide to be offended, and because, you know, being offended is a decision. I mean, maybe it's something that you know, you have a right to be offended about, or or something like that. But the thing is being offended, you know, that's a decision. You're deciding to do that. I had a philosophy teacher one time says, nobody can have power over you that you don't give them, you know? And I can't remember which philosopher said that, but bottom line is, as soon as I'm offended by something, I give another person control over my thoughts and feelings. And I'm not interested in giving someone that kind of control and over my thoughts and feelings. I want to keep my thoughts and feelings mine. And the other thing is, you know, there's a variety of things. Like, first of all, if I become offended, immediately I have no dialogue with that person. Immediately, because I'm offended, it narrows my my thoughts to the point that it's difficult to learn something from somebody, and everybody's got something to learn, you know, to learn from. It narrows my thoughts and feelings with regard, you know, to an individual. It And so it's difficult to have a dialogue. It's difficult to learn something from that person. And the other thing is, it's a combination of things. Like sometimes, people get offended by things that are like misspoken or, inadvertent,
Yeah.
It's everybody right now wants to get offended by all kinds of things that are inadvertent. Well, what a waste of time that is. And so then, I've had somebody say something callous before. Everybody has. And then, you just wait it out. And overall, the person's a good person. You just wait it out and roll on. And then, if it's kind of a repeat deal or something like that, well, then, it lets you know where you stand. It lets you know where it is. And then but you still learn something in the process about, maybe you learn what not to do. But so I think that being offended is a waste of time, and I guard against it at all costs. We even talked about it on the field, somebody shoves somebody on a football field. Well, all of a sudden somebody wants to hit the other guy back, and they call personal fouls, or somebody says something to somebody or calls somebody something, or, and then all of a sudden somebody's slugging somebody. Well, then now all of a sudden there's personal fouls, first of all, you didn't hurt that other person very bad. You hurt yourself and your team, and then you and the other thing is you're playing against the other guy. What do you care what he thinks anyway?
Right.
If you care too much what the other team thinks, well, then you have a bigger problem than the guy on the other team does.
Yeah, it's not about
football. No. I want you, Julie, do you have the tweet ready?
I do, yes.
I want to know, Mike, if you think I should be offended by this tweet that I got just today.
Yeah.
So I was on a podcast. I was the guest on a podcast.
Okay, the short answer is no, but go ahead.
I know.
We also need
I just want your thoughts on the tweet.
Yeah, we also need you to just break it down if you can for us.
So I was a guest on a podcast. The guy who's the host of the podcast tweeted about it, tagged me, whatever. I didn't do anything with it, but then all of a sudden I get this response from this guy.
Okay, this is someone named Tama, which is confusing if that's a boy or girl, I don't know. They said, honestly, would rather hear an elephant fart wet diarrhea for hours than hear anything about Emily Jones, and I'm not alone on that.
Well, first of all, that tweet is laced with jealousy. That tweet is laced with jealousy. Okay, and name calling is a favorite pastime nowadays too. All kinds of name calling, and you see both political parties do it just constantly.
Uh-huh.
And so this would be, I would say, a very primitive form of name calling.
Okay, and
not even creative. I mean that the thing that would be most disturbing is it's not creative. You'll be in the stands, or you'll be at a game or something on the sideline. In the stands, they'll yell something. If they just go, and they love to do this. F you suck. You suck. F you. You suck, number 85. I mean, that does nothing. That's not even fun. It's not smart. But sometimes, I always kind of found, honestly, I thought the Longhorns were pretty good at this type of thing. Or I'm trying to think who else. And let's see, I can think of a Pac-12 team probably. Maybe Cal or somebody.
They would be creative.
Where they'll say something, they'll go, you're going, I didn't catch that. And you'll say, what is it again? And then you'll say, okay, wait, what's the last part? And then you'll say, oh, that's pretty smart. I like that. I wish I'd thought of it. Yeah, it's directed at me. But the thing is there's a certain artistry to it. And, you kind of appreciate, it's like a prank phone call. I mean, like back when I was a kid, prank phone calls, that was a big deal. Prank phone calls, okay? And I actually did a folklore paper on prank phone calls and got so into it.
Of course you did.
The assignment was like 10. I got like 100, okay? And just would ask people about them. I'd be some great ones. So, you know, just, you know, cursing somebody on the other line, hanging up, you know, but some would be very, very, very clever and elaborate, okay? And then some would be very clever and elaborate. And if they were very clever and elaborate, I mean, you know, even though they're directed at you, you just kind of tip your hat. You say, yeah, okay, I kind of like that. I'll tell you one in a second, but to finish the point. So, you know, whoever sent that, you know, is just venting.
So wet diarrhea, elephant farts.
Well, clearly some triggered, some, you know, some triggered person that's venting, that's probably quite jealous. Probably maybe you didn't love their team enough or something like that. Yeah. And then, so any amount of time you spend worrying about it or being offended is wasted. And then, in the end, they might actually be a decent, although misguided person. Although if they're going to give abuse, they ought to learn how to do it better. And then, but you know, I mean, that format, I mean, it embraces all of that. And I guarantee you that's a person that's, you know, waiting for something to be upset about by not just you, but anybody. So, I mean, imagine trading places with that person and your existence is that pathetic.
Right.
And, so, I just let it roll, you know. I mean, that it says more about them than it does about you. But no, the prank phone call, this is classic. Okay, the day the music died with prank phone calls was when they got cell phones and you could track everybody's number and stuff like that. But
game changer.
So and this is, and I mean, I can probably go on 20 of these if I can think of them, but a really good one was when I was in college, you'd call up a girl's apartment, right? You'd say, listen, talking a real official voice, you know, whoever sounded the most official of your guys sitting around. Hello, is this apartment number such and such? Yes. Who am I speaking with? And, you know, and then, you know, they'll say, and then you go, okay, well, this is a phone company. And you know, we have a problem with your line. We're not getting a good signal. And so we're going to have a man working on your line. And, you know, for the next couple hours. And it's very, very important that you don't answer the phone, because if you answer the phone, it could adjust the current and you know, you think up some technical terms, you know, the bolts could arc and, you know, and it could be catastrophic. And the individual on the line could be seriously injured or electrocuted. So please don't answer the phone. Oh, okay. We won't. No, we won't answer the phone. Okay. Then you wait about 15 minutes. Okay. Then you call. Okay. Now you want to have several people by the phone, and you want to have somebody with a really screechy voice too. Okay. And so then, so, you know, dial, you know, ring. Okay. Then wait a few minutes, then dial it again. And so then, you know, you're going to get tired of holding the phone. So you sort of pass it around the room, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then at some point, somebody's going to answer that phone, and it's going to be a really quiet hello, you know, just a very cautious hello. And then you hand it to the screecher, and he goes, ah!
hand it to the Screecher.
Oh yeah, no, and you have him let it rip. You know, it's
oh man, what kind of reactions would you get?
Oh, you know, they sometimes you'd hear the phone drop.
They're dying because you told them they were going to be electrocuted.
Oh,
well,
hilarious.
and then of course, I had a little bit of a conscience, so we'd always go over and after a little bit and laugh about it and go tell them. And part of the reason you'd tell them because you wanted to hear the aftermath, because they'd tell you about the expression on everybody's face and who said what, and so then you got to kind of enjoy your work, you know.
That's hilarious.
That's amazing.
Mike, you're gold.
Frank phone
Always good for some stories.
Can I just ask you about pirates real quick?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What's that?
I just have one last question, and I'll be really mad at myself forever if I never just have a little bit of pirate talk with you.
All right.
Not many people know this about me, but I am also really obsessed with pirates. I love pirates. Every time there was like a costume party or anything, I always had this one pirate costume, and I always dressed up as a pirate. And beyond that, it goes beyond the costume. My family actually has, we are tied to Sir Francis Drake. So that's somewhere in my blood.
And, he might be the greatest one ever.
Well, that's what I hear.
He was the second one to circumvent the world. And I got a story on Francis Drake.
Oh, cool. So he's like, you know, we're related somehow. So he's kind of like my long lost brother in a way. My brother's obsessed with pirates. We both are. So I just wanted to first ask you, like, I want to hear about the Sir Francis Drake story for sure. But do you see yourself as a pirate or a pirate or somewhere in between? And just how do you kind of explain the Mike Leach pirate relationship?
Okay, so how the pirate thing turned out was Michael Lewis, who wrote Moneyball, who wrote Blindside, kind of a big time writer, came and wrote an article in New York Times Magazine on our team. Stayed around for a week, and it was a good week too, because preparation for A&M, really intense game. We had a big night, got A&M at the end, and so I kind of missed him when he was gone. And so I'd give the team speeches on just various topics, some of it just really to change up the monotony, but it was always something that involved a team and people working together, and all different subjects. But I gave him a speech on pirates, and on the pirates, when I gave him the speech on pirates, incidentally, I mean, anybody out there that's interested in pirates, and I've sold a lot of books for this guy, I promise you, and I can't remember his name, a British guy, I believe, wrote a book called Under the Black Flag. And because there's a lot of pirate stuff, and some, you can get caught in the weeds unless you're really into it, and it's all good. But this one is just a really good book that captures a lot of stuff.
Okay.
It's called Under the Black Flag. Anyway, so I'm giving the team a speech on pirates, and I have a museum replica pirate sword. So it's, it's like an exact model of the kind they had. Now, authentic pirate swords are hard to get your hands on because steel and salt water don't mix very well. This guy's car is all jacked up. Anyway, so I give him the speech on pirates, and I have this pirate sword. And as I'm giving the speech, I'm swinging the sword around. And I talk about how pirates were unique because, see, back in that era, people from different countries didn't hang out with each other. People of different races didn't hang out with each other. And further, rich people didn't hang out with poor people. But when you went over there to the New World and you got a ship full of people trying to secure treasure, fighting for their life because people don't want to give you their treasure and they're willing to kill you for your trouble if they get a chance.
Yeah.
So you're essentially fighting for your life, legitimate or otherwise. And then, so it was kind of the first form of democracy, or it wasn't the first form, but it was an early one.
Yeah.
Where anybody that could fight or contribute to the effort, and some were just viewed as people who were lucky at times, would have equal standing, and everybody got the same wages, except unless you were an officer, captain got a double share, quartermaster got a little more, stuff like that, but not crazy amount. They even had the type of workman's comp. If you lost a right leg, you got a certain amount of money. If you lost a left leg, you got money, but less than a right leg. Most people were right-handed back then, I guess.
You get a hook, you lose an arm.
Yeah, you'd get some money if you had to get a hook. And then, I'm going through this. Some of it's just interesting, but some of it's, we all come from different places, different backgrounds, and it's us all working together. What counts, what we do together is what counts.
Right.
And so in pirates, they keep their swords sharp and clean, because their life depended on it. And so I'm swinging the sword around the room. How are you going to swing your sword? I swing it all timid-like, ducking my head. Are you going to swing it like this, where you might as well not even have a sword and the first guy just stabs you? Are you going to swing it all reckless and no discipline? Maybe you get the first guy, but you're so vulnerable and exposed that you're done. And I said in football, your body's your sword. You sharpen it in the weight room.
Yeah.
You sharpen it with nutrition. Your technique, you learn that through the drills and the reps you get in practice. And that's why our motto at Tech was swing your sword. And then my book, which made it a New York Times bestseller, Swing Your Sword. That's why we called it Swing Your Sword. But anyway, and that's on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I got another one on Geronimo, the Apache warrior. But so, and then when they interviewed our players, when Michael Lewis interviewed our players, several of them brought up the pirate speech and talked about the pirate speech.
Uh-huh.
And so then Michael Lewis wrote about it in his article. And once that article came out, which goes worldwide, all over Texas Tech, pirate flags popped up everywhere.
Yeah.
Are you in a car wash right now, Mike?
No, I'm going by the water and the wind's blowing. And I'm thinking that if I get around the corner, I'm hoping the wind dies, but
you're good. We can still hear you.
I'm getting out.
It's a nice little. It's pirate.
It is
background.
the pirate aura for the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the perfect place to tell this story.
It is.
And so then, pirate stuff would pop up. The band started doing pirate songs. You don't have any choice what they tag you with.
Right. Okay. So you don't call yourself a pirate, but you like the pirate.
No, they call me that. But the thing is, when I looked at what you're calling some of my colleagues and other head coaches, I felt like I was reasonably lucky to get the pirate deal because you have no control over what they call it.
Right.
If you don't believe me, just ask him. And then that sweet guy. Anyway, so they you get all kinds of great gear. I mean, I've got some great books, little tours, pirate pictures. Bobby Knight that night gave me that 6-foot Pirates of the Caribbean with the pirates at the top.
Yeah.
Play with that.
All the pirate stuff.
Oh, some lady in France, she says, I'm not even that much of a football person, but like I say, New York Times Magazine goes worldwide. I'm not that big a football person, but I really enjoyed the article. Here, I thought you might want this. Sends me a pewter skull and crossbow all the way from France.
Really?
And then, yeah. And so then, that's how the pirate thing took off. Now, France is great. One of the great stories okay, start with the fact that back in the day, very, very, very few people in that day and age could swim. As a matter of fact, Benjamin Franklin was one of the early guys that kind of revolutionized swimming. He loved to swim. And then, an interesting footnote, Benjamin Franklin's in the Swimming Hall of Fame, I believe. But anyway, so back in the day, despite the fact these people were all seafaring and everything, they didn't swim. And then the worst thing you could have on a ship was fire. And because you were a goner. Okay, so Francis Drake is having a big time. And Francis Drake is going to the New World.
Yeah. My homeboy.
Plundering Spanish ships. Because it was literally big things for pirates. The Queen sponsored Francis Drake and English ships to plunder the Spanish ships. And then, of course, Drake got a cut of it for the crown. But and so he's happily doing that in the New World. And I've never been there, but he ends up in Cartagena. So they go to port in Cartagena. Cartagena is the point that gets to Colombia. And I've never been there, but somehow the land juts out from either side and creates kind of a circle there. And as a result of that circle, it's a great natural harbor. The trouble is there's only one way in, one way out. And so the Spanish say, all right, that's it. We're getting Francis Drake. Yeah. He has to leave here eventually. So they blockade that entrance to the harbor. And if you see it kind of geographically, you can see how that'd be the case, because just a very narrow inlet to get in there, then it expands out in this big round harbor. And so he's in there, they're in there for days trying to figure out how they're getting out of there. There's all these Spanish ships out there ready to blow up Francis Drake. And now he had a fleet. He didn't just have one ship. I mean, pirates generally didn't have just one ship. They had kind of a fleet. And so, you know, he thinks and thinks. And so then what he does is they get it all sorted out. So they have a ship that kind of leads the other ships. They get the wind just right. Because there's a point to where if your ship's heading one way, it's going to take another ship a while to tack and catch the wind, you know. And so he gets his fleet, and they're hauling ass out of the harbor, and one ship's in front of all the others. Okay, one ship's in front of all the others. And On that ship, there's only a couple sailors on that ship, like 2 or 3, and they, they cover it with turpentine or whatever. And as they're starting to get close, they light that ship on fire, and it's just this big, huge fireball coming at all these Spanish ships in the blockade.
Wow.
And because. And it's not just you have to hit them directly. I mean, the wind alone could get your ship burned down if you're one of them Spanish guys.
Right.
And so then the sailors on the lead ship, they jump off into a life raft, and then one of the ships behind pick them up. And then as that fireball's coming towards those Spanish ships,
what do you do then?
They scatter, and then out goes Francis Drake and his fleet. How about that?
Wow.
Sounds like a movie.
Getting
Have they made a movie about that?
And resourceful, all the pirate things to get the job done.
That's what it takes, I guess.
That's what it takes. I didn't even know that. I thought I knew him well, but you know him better than I do. I didn't even know that.
No, you can argue he's the best one ever. I mean, I've always kind of liked Bartholomew Roberts too. Blackbeard's hard to ignore just because, he's just a big, huge guy.
Wow.
Very ruthless. But and had that whole legend thing going where sometimes cats would surrender before even fighting him,
Kind of how it is with me, Mike. It's kind of the way I feel. I feel like I'm modern day Blackbeard over here.
Pretty much. Change your Twitter handle.
So
okay, Mike. First of all, did you get Sharon's bike tire changed? She had a flat.
Yeah, we did. We
did
had that, okay. And we were able to go to that shop. They fixed it real quick. We were actually able to do that in the intermission of trying to get this number to work out.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate you being with us. Thanks for hanging with us. It was fun to catch up.
That was amazing.
Fun times and good stories when we catch up. So it's good to talk to you.
Well, it's great talking to you, and it's good to hear from you again.
All right. Be good.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for all your time today. I really loved it. You're an interesting man. You could talk for hours.
Well, thanks so much. Good luck to you. Good luck to you, and look forward to being on again sometime.
Please do.
We can't wait, Mike. You're the best. Thank you, dear. You opened a can of worms.
I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
no.
I would have been mad at myself forever if we didn't talk pirates. I just think that's so interesting, and I love how he relates it all to life and like football.
Yeah. Like that's kind of wheels off very much.
Yes, it really is. Yeah. It really is. What an interesting person. I'm jealous of that you got to cover him for so many years, and thanks for getting.
Yeah, he definitely made things interesting. That's for sure. Okay, so episode 12 in the books. One thing we didn't get to today, obviously, because we had a lot of time with Mike Leach, is the 10 things we didn't know about you. So that will come next week in episode 13, and we, fingers crossed, are going to be together in studio. A brand new studio. Super excited about it.
Yes.
So, all right. Thanks, you guys, for hanging. As long
wonder
as you
how many people listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Shoot us a tweet. Remember, we're a community. We want you to feel a part of our community.
Yes.
Let us know what you thought about Wheels Off Mike Leach. Let us know if you made it to the end of this. So you guys have a great day, and that's it.
Peace out from the mom game and Mike Leach.
Game out.
Pirates.
The Pirates.